Corey Lutz, Coreylutz. The name of the farm is Piedmont Jerseys. We've been here since 1997. I grew up on another dairy about 15 miles from here. We've always milked registered jerseys. And when we moved down here, we decided to operate this farm as an intensive rotational grazing dairy, which there's not a lot of those around, but it really works good for the Jersey breed, and it's really been economical for us over the years. Milk starts with grass, actually. Your production is going to be determined by how high your quality of your feed is that you're feeding your cows. So high quality feed comes from healthy soil. So we do as much as we can to keep the soils healthy. That translates into the feeds that we're feeding our cows and promotes better milk production. To improve soil health, we've done quite a few things. First thing we do is we double crop. So we try to have something physically growing on the soil all year round. And what that does is it feeds the microbes in the soil, and healthy soils come from healthy microbial activity in the soil. Another thing we've done, we do all no-till. We do very little tillage. Only time we will till is to smooth the soil. Another thing we've done is we have created stock trails for our cows to move back and forth to the paddocks and the pastures, so we don't disturb the soil and make a place that will cause erosion. We've got about 90 acres dedicated to grazing just the milking herd on. And so those paddocks will range in size from down to 3/4 of an acre up to about 1.5 acres, depending on how much crop's there. So our goal is when the cows go out of the barn, whatever paddock we put them in, we want them to graze all of the forage that's there in about a 6-hour period before they come back to the barn to be milked again. Next time they go out, they'll go on a fresh patch of soil. So by doing that, we're taking all the crop off, we're spreading the manure out with the cows without having to use mechanical equipment to do that. And the manure that the cows produce actually helps the health of the soil too. A lot of people perceive the intensive grazing as a very labor intense, and it's really not that bad. So we set up the paddocks. We can set up a paddock in about 20 or 30 minutes. So we don't spend a lot of time every day setting up pasture and moving pasture, and the cows move back and forth pretty readily too. And what I mean by that is I get the questions quite a bit. Well, how do you get the cows to go to the pasture and come back to the barn? Well, it's basically when the cows are done eating at the barn, they know they're going to fresh grass. So as soon as you open the gates, they're going to that paddock. So basically you follow them down there, shut them up, and when they get done eating that paddock, they know there's fresh feed in the barn. So they move back and forth very easily. The benefits we see from implementing these practices are we can pretty much grow a crop year-round in our climate. So our goal is to have something for the cows to go out and graze as many days of the year as we possibly can. And that starts with soil health. By having healthy soils, we get very vigorous growth on a lot of these annual crops. So for instance, in the spring, we will actually graze a piece off, and it only takes about 10 days for that to recover and be ready to graze again. The reason we use alfalfa in our grazing system is it gets pretty hot down here in the southeast in the summertime. So we're looking for a really high quality crop that cows will actually go out and graze in the heat of the summer. And alfalfa is one of the best ones that we have found. Now we do graze our alfalfa at night because we don't want the cows to congregate in one small area. They'll stay spread out at night better than they will during the daytime. But alfalfa is a high protein crop, and so it really works well in our summer grazing system. So we can graze alfalfa from about May through October. One of the practices that we have implemented that I didn't bring up is we do a lot of variable rate applications of fertilizer. So we do grid sampling of soil sampling. So what we find is, especially when you're using cattle manure for fertility, you'll have spots that are higher fertility than others. And to try to even those spots out, we're using grid sampling and variable rate applications to try to balance the nutrients in the soil all over the farm. And that's I would also encourage farmers to look at their base saturation on their soil test. Base saturation is going to tell you what your balance in your soil is. Some of the cost of implementing a program like this is your reseeding cost. We're all the time reseeding pasture in the fall and the spring. Fertility would be about the same as if you were doing a cropping system. But some of the advantages is we save a lot of money on diesel fuel, so we don't, by letting the cows harvest those crops, we're saving the fuel for harvesting, storage, and then feeding back to the cows. So while you incur a few extra costs, you really have a lot of savings on the fuel and labor part of trying to harvest and store all your feed. Soil and Water NRCS has programs that they will cost share on some of the stock trails, some of the waste management system we've got here on the farm. So we did utilize those programs to put in these best management practices to do as good a job as we could do for soil health and soil fertility. I would encourage them to step out and contact people that are doing it and go look and see how it's done. I think when people really look at it and get some firsthand experience with it, it works really well. Another reason we did this, not only for the soil health, is for the health of the cow. So we've got all registered cows, and we like to do a lot of showing. And so this system keeps cows in the herd for a lot longer than a confinement system would. And by doing that, we can sell a lot of offspring to other dairies, and that's another source of income for us.